Hi, I'm now here with Angel Hosband. Welcome, and why don't you give us a little introduction and a background about who you are?
Thank you, Jeff. Pleasure to be here. I'm actually in Southern California, and I've been with my company for 30 years. I've been in working in K-12 for 30 years, and I decided to do that because I actually have two daughters, and I was very involved in their lives when they were going to elementary school. So I knew I needed to make a shift in my career in the architecture, what the type of architecture I was focusing on, to something where it would make a difference in, my life as well as, our future learners.
That's perfect, perfect segue. So, having your own children, which at one time they either are students still or they were, think about student impact. In K-12, we really embrace the theme radically student centered. So, our work really tries to revolve around that. So, you've got two of your own kids. How does your work or think of a project that you can think of that's really exemplified that?
Gosh, there's so many, because I've been working for so long. I can think of the last large project I did. It was in Bakersfield, a high school that was just built out there. And, Bakersfield was used to just designing, or not really designing, just using cookie cutter kind of projects and just repeating them over and over.
Pretty much, actually.
Absolutely. And they didn't know any different out there. And so we came in with these new ideas of making the school more student centric, making sure that the students and the way that they were learning were more collaborative and not just, a classroom where you're facing the front and listening to the teacher. The place where we built this high school was in the middle of 5 gang territories. So the students out there were very fearful and they weren't used to collaborating because they were used to being, kind of in their own self and safe that way. After we built the high school, the students started to then open up to each other. They started helping out each other, and they really cared about each other, the campus, and the community. It started to bleed out into the families too, and families started really caring about other families. They have transformed spaces that we had, imagined, and they've used these spaces to help out the community themselves. So now there's actually a pantry for other families in the community. There's also parents that are coming in and volunteering to help other parents to understand, how to navigate through high school, right? And then there are even some of our security officers that are going out and helping to transport the homeless students that come in and that need that transport to get into school and to help them shower and change and all of that. I know it's a lot, and I think that's the one that resonates with me the most because that was just a recent one.
Yeah. So, Angel, let's dig a little bit deeper. So, in the age of chronic absenteeism, right, which you know very well, and I'm sure you kind of look into it, the school that you're speaking of seems to have probably reduced some of that because of give us a little visual about what some of these spaces were intended to be and kind of what they look like. What did you have in mind when you were designing these?
We had to actually convince this district into these new ideas where classrooms opened up to other classrooms, opened up to hallways, and it actually showed the collaboration happening. We had also a library that's connected to the cafeteria. So it's actually this now engaged space where it isn't just a room for eating and a room to be quiet in. Now it's just like this open, almost like Starbucks kind of feel, where students are really happy to be in these spaces and they can just be themselves and learn.
That's wonderful. So what are some other variables that you brought into this to help, to promote that the learning, the engagement, the collaboration, the social construct of becoming, humans in our society?
A lot of other ideas of collaboration that we brought into this campus, not only for students, but also for teachers. So this campus was designed for teachers not to own their own classroom, that they would have to go into a teacher collaboration space, and that's where they would drop off their personals, right? But that would force the teachers to go in there and talk to each other and work on, some project-based learning that they could now, go cross all these different, learning, subjects. And so because they didn't own the space, the classroom space, now this classroom was so flexible for different types of subjects, and students didn't feel like are kind of stagnant in the space.
That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. Any parting words or anything else you want to share? Maybe something that's come up that's you're looking forward to, you're working on right now, that's something that really is digging into your passion.
I think now I'm really focusing on students that actually need a little bit more care and attention due to their mental state, their physical state. I want to make the spaces more inclusive for them, not to make them feel separated from the general. So trying to focus more on that holistic kind of design for
I
them.
love that. Can you share, like, what's one or two things that go into something like that?
So you just have to understand the sensitivity of we're talking about a large scale, right? They could be a little bit more engaged, with other the mainstream students, or they'll just need more supervision and care. So understanding that difference. But what we did at this high school was really to get the administration of that type of education into the administration building. Everything was so separate in previous designs that I had seen. But to get them engaged in talking with administration gets them to actually come up with ideas to integrate their students into the classrooms a lot better and understanding where that can happen.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Angel Hosband from HMC
HMC?
in
Yeah,
Southern California. We really
yeah.
appreciate you being with us
Well,
today.
thank you, Jeff. It was nice to meet you.
You too.